going on YouTube and the Inferno family? It's that time again, Friday flow, floaty Friday. You knew exactly what I said, Friday flow. First of all, I want to address some stupidity on my part from last week's video. I kept saying clavicle when I clearly meant cervical, so my apologies for that. Just to reiterate the 5 parts of the spine: cervical at the top, neck, thorax, lumbar, sacrum, coccyx. Okay, so my apologies for that mistake. I clearly was not thinking properly, but yeah, cervical spine, not clavicle spine. Your clavicle is your collarbone, so it's not a million miles away, obviously, but that's not the word I meant, so my apologies on that part. Secondly, this week we're looking at the rotational part of the facet joint, so we're going through those planes today, and how we can lead with different parts of our body to create more momentum through that motion to open that space out, but also how we can also block parts of the movement to focus on a particular area, like the end part of the rotation or the beginning part of the rotation. So we'll be covering a few of those quite simplistically, so that is the key, keeping it simple today. So we will go through that. Not so much of a rant from me this week. We're just going to kind of get straight into it with our spine mini-series. So, again, just sort of reiterating the point I made last week. I know I've got the luxury of filming from the gym, so I have the luxury of using a bench that can prop up, but just to reiterate my point, when you're at home and setting for this, you want to find a way that your knee hinge is lower than your hip crease, which is going to actually force the pelvis into a little bit of posterior tilt, which will make your spine more natural to you. So you can see as soon as I'm in this position, I'm inclined to sit upright. I'm not inclined to hunch over or internally rotate my shoulders. I'm inclined to be a bit more upright in my position. So before we get into the rotational, we're going to go over last week's flexion and extension, and we're going to use that as part of a warm-up this week. So again, hinging forward from the pelvis, but we're keeping the pelvis locked in space. So we're guiding the movement with the top of the head and the eyes. So as we reach forward, follow your fingertips. As we reach back, again, follow your fingertips back. So you can see here already, I'm a little bit tight through this plane this week. So my first few reps are moving as well as they could, but as I get warm and I focus on the extension part of my thorax, you'll see that each rep I'm wanting to go a little bit further back and reach, but I'm guiding the movement with my eyes and the top of my head. So we're going to go to 20 reps and take a little breather. We'll do another 20 and then we'll get into the rotation part of this movement. 3 more for me. 2 more. Last one. And a little break. So just give yourself 20-30 seconds, maybe even a minute. Just let your heart rate come back down again, catch your breath. If you're moving quite quickly through it, you will notice your heart rate will come up, you'll start to feel a bit warmer too. Oh, while we're on that topic, it's baking out there. Stay hydrated, get plenty of water in, keep your cells happy. A hydrated cell is a happy cell, remember that. Alright, second set. So you can see now, starting this set, I've got a bit more movement through the thoracic and lumbar junction, being able to extend a bit more freely. It's not a chore for me to do this. Get a bit of synovial fluid release. 8 more for me. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, last one. Nice reach. Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to look at the rotation plane of this movement. So keeping the pelvis locked in position, again we have 2 different points in which we can actually steer this movement to create success. So we have that end point here, so we have the reach forward. We have the pull back, okay, of the rotation, which is also going to guide our success a little bit. So you can, there's 3 different ways you can do this. So we can make the whole movement from here to here. So you can see I'm actually guiding the rotation with my shoulder blade and my arm. So when I go to reach forward, I'm sort of pretending like I'm reaching for something. Yeah? So, if it's a warm day, pretend like you're reaching for your favourite poison. Now some of you have been dreaming about a cold pint from a pub. You now get your dream 4th of July. Stay safe, obviously. Okay? So, we've got that rotational part of the movement, but again, we've also got the end part, or the type 2 part, so we can actually focus on here. Yeah? So I'm actually now guiding that end part of the movement, still with my shoulder, but more with my elbow. So I'm not focusing on reaching forward, I'm focusing on pulling back, which will help open out that end phase of those facet joints. So then when we come to the fuller motion, last one for me, you'll see I'll then have way more space. My reach will be a lot longer and I'll be going through that fuller range of movement. So I'll actually feel muscles are a little bit warmer, my spine does feel a bit freer. So now if we go into that full range, come from the pull back to the reach forward, now look at what's going on here. So my shoulder blade is gliding around my rib cage a bit better. I'm wanting to reach a bit further forward. I'm focusing a bit more on that pullback, but that's guiding the reach. Chest is starting to open out a little bit. Yeah? Okay. So, with that rotation, what I would recommend would be to do 10 to 15 reps, just focusing on the reach forward, 10 to 15 reps, just focusing on the pull back, and then 10 to 15 reps for the whole movement, and then switch sides. Okay. So, as I mentioned before, we can then look at ways we can actually block some things down. So, a lot of rotation, people tend to want to steer it with their shoulders, which is not a bad thing, but we want to try and limit that a little bit now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross my left hand across and just hold on to the outside of my right pelvis. So now I'm completely blocking that reach forward. So I only have a choice. My only choice is to focus on this pull back here. So I'm not guiding it with my left arm at all. So now there's a bigger difference with what my spine's doing in space. So I'm not relying on my shoulder blades, not relying on my shoulders at all. I'm relying on the stretch of my arm, keeping my shoulder blade in my back pocket, so I'm keeping it depressed. I'm actually just trying to get the spine to rotate opposed to relying on the shoulder. So now, if I let go, you'll see what happens. Wait, all of a sudden, we're a lot looser, a lot more space to move, okay? So next week, what we're going to start looking at then is lateral flexion, and then how we can actually incorporate the two. So lateral flexion will be left and right side, but then how we can actually prefix one position, so I could prefix a rotation and focus on the lateral flexion, or I could prefix lateral flexion here, focus on the rotation to free some movement out a little bit more and create more space for the skeletal system. Yeah, but then we can also come to a reach over into lateral flexion or a pull down, or again blocking off, and then coming into just lateral flexion here. So we're opening out various different muscle groups and just creating that freedom for the facet joints to move in space. So when you do get done, you do feel a lot freer, you feel like you'll be able to move a bit more. Your muscles, chest, pecs, lats, serratus, anterior, a little bit of your neck extensors and your traps as well, all starting to warm up and free out and go through relaxing and contracting to allow that space to happen. Okay, so this is a really nice sort of flow to do at home, especially if you're spending a lot of time at your desk or on your sofa and your laptop. So it's a really nice one just to get things moving around a little bit and feel a bit freer. Okay, so that's part 2, rotation. Hope you enjoy it. Just to reiterate, 10 just focusing on reach forward, 10 focusing on pull back, 10 all the way through. Block one hand off, just focus on the reach forward again, block the other side off, focus on the reach forward again, and then go through the full plane. So you should have probably a combination of around 80 odd reps for each side. You can obviously do 2 to 3 sets of that as well if you want to. It's another nice flow just to warm up with as well if you're looking at starting to train on doing a cardio workout at home. So it just gets the heart rate up a bit, gets you a bit warmer, gets some blood flow around and eases off those muscle groups. If you can hear the music, if you are interested, Cinematic Chill on Spotify, other playlists are available, but this is a really nice one, especially if you're a movie geek. Alright, but for me, that's it this week. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay alert. When pubs and restaurants reopen again on the 4th of July, enjoy them, but obviously be vigilant, you know. We don't want to fall too far back from where we've come from. Side note as well, our new website has gone live, so please check that out, www.inferno.fitness. We've got a whole new section on there as well, the training subscriptions. These are available to absolutely anyone and are catered towards very different goals as well on a monthly subscription payment. So please go and check those out, we're very proud of them. And from me, I will catch you on the flip side.